Yes guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a brand new video of a 10-year rebuild on EAFC25 with Brentford. If you're new around here, I'm Rusty. I make career mode videos, recently new to this YouTube game. I've got Sheffield Wednesday career mode going on if you want to take a look on that on the channel. But we are sticking to a rebuild in this video and we are taking on Burnley, sometimes called by some as a bus stop in Hounslow. We want to see where we can take them in 10 years and see if we can get them some silverware. And you can see Season 1, we end the season, the 24-25 season, where they ended in real life, in 10th place, with the squad in the background you saw there. And we got 56 points to get that 10th place finish. But going into Season 2, this is where we took over and we really wanted to start. You saw there the contract ended for Ben Mee and Joshua Silva, as they did in real life. And then all the players who left in real life, we also put them up for sale to obviously replicate where we're picking up Bournemouth compared to where they are in real life. And then the players they brought in real life, once again, we are going to buy all of those players to bring them into the team. And you can see there, all four of them we brought in. The only one we didn't unfortunately sign, you can see we've got Kelleher, Coyote, Milambo and Dango Atara. The only one unfortunately we couldn't sign was the veteran Jordan Henderson. You can see here we went to buy him to get him from Ajax, but unfortunately he was retired in game, so we couldn't unfortunately bring him in. But aside from that, all the rest of the signings came in. At this point, we hadn't sold any of the players that were sold in real life, i.e. Norgard, Mbumo, anyone like that, but we will get them sold by the end of the first transfer window. But we took over and we got our first signing in, which was Ethan Ampadu from Leeds. He is a centre-back or a central defensive midfielder. I think he actually starts as a centre-back in-game, and we got him for £14.5 million from a recently promoted Leeds team. But we do actually convert him into a defensive midfielder, as that is where we want him to play, picking up where we would have put Henderson, really. We've got enough in centre-back, really, and we obviously wanted to strengthen that midfield, and Ampadu will hopefully do that. And then we did bring another midfielder in, this time more of an attacking midfielder in Emil Smith-Rowe from Fulham. Obviously moved to Fulham a couple of seasons ago from Arsenal, and now he's moved over to another London side in Brentford. For just £26 million, we get the young English attacking midfielder in, and he should be one. He's still only 24 years old, and he should be one that obviously he can grow with the team and grow in the future. And the final player we brought in our first transfer window was, I'm going to pronounce it probably wrong, Bitshiabu, the young 20-year-old centre-back from RB Leipzig. Just £10 million, again, a player we can bring in and hopefully grow with us. You saw that, only 20 years old, 6'5", big player, left-footed, strong. So hopefully he can do a job for us and grow with us into the team. And again, due to obviously him coming in a centre-back role, we do move Sepp van der Berg into that right-back role to cover in that right-back spot. So we've got that sort of defence sorted. So no real big signings, but just a couple of signings to improve the squad a little bit and hopefully put us on the right trajectory going forward. And hopefully we can get to mid-season in January in a good space. You can see the team here, again, decent. Kelleher in goal, decent back line. Possibly just Rico Henry need replacing. The midfield's okay. Attacking-wise, we're looking in a good place. Definitely some improvement, but a solid team. We're just looking at some of the biggest transfers from the summer transfer window for our first season. Gyökeres, you saw, was a big signing there. You've got other players moving along, Valde, De Jong, etc., that have signed for other teams as well. So obviously a lot of movements around all different clubs. And then one more for us was Magoma, the young midfielder, come left back from Brentford, and he was going out on loan for just a season. But we get to January, and unfortunately we've dropped off. Even with our signings, we end January we start January, should I say, in 15th position. So not brilliant, but sometimes what's the saying they say? Sometimes you have to go backwards to go forwards. And even the stats-wise, we weren't looking in a good place. We were sort of hanging on to games from the looks of it. We weren't managing to get too many goals or anything like that, and that's why we are unfortunately in 15th. We knew there were some contracts that were going to come to an end, some big contracts coming to an end, players like Aaron Hickey, Rico Henry, etc. But luckily we did manage to renew all of them, obviously not willing to lose them on a free. The only one we didn't get to extend was Jensen, and you can see here he was refusing to sign the contract, and he signed a pre-agreement with Fulham. And then the big signing, or the big sale, should I say, was Johan Visser. Obviously expected to go in real life, still at Brentford as time of recording, but he is expected to leave, so we did do the right thing and sell him, and we did sell Aaron Hickey as well. We put those funds to good use, and we bought the youngster Mika Biereth from Monaco, the ex-Arsenal youth player. He went to Salzburg, he's been to Monaco, performed well in both those clubs, and now we've brought him back to London. 22 years old, 6'2", only 81 rated, but again, a lot of potential and a lot of growth that he can achieve there, and hopefully he can get off to a good start for us and he can fire in some goals for us to fire us up that table. And the final sale was Maz Roeslev, the right back. He moved to Celtic just to bring in some extra funds. Once again, in the background there, you can see all the signings and the sales for the January transfer window. And just to show, obviously, the ones we've spoken about are the only ones that have happened, and we haven't anything else in the background. But two unhappy players, Gavin Sharda and Igor Thiago, unfortunately, both unhappy. Not main starters, but obviously good backup players. So hopefully we can obviously either get them some game time or get them shifted out of the club and get some funds in. But just looking at the team going into the second half of the season, you see even Ampadu already gone up 2 ratings there, which is a really good sign. Smith Rowe's gone up 1 rating as well, 14 Premier League goals in his 35 games as well. So this is just before the end of the season. Milambo up 4 ratings, up to a 77. Dango Tara going up 1 to a 78. And then the big man who we brought in, who you will see in a second, Mika Biereth, just a +1, and unfortunately only 3 goals in his 14 appearances in the second half of the season. So really not a good start to life in Brentford for Mika Biereth, but hopefully obviously he can improve going forward, and hopefully he can get some goals in once he gets into his rhythm. And then just looking at the table as the season ended, we did unfortunately finish in 15th where we were in January, and actually we've massively dropped off 41 points, and that is not a good place to be compared to where we picked this team up. So as I say, sometimes you have to go backwards to go forwards, and that is definitely the case here. But we'll definitely obviously look to continue sort of building the squad, and hopefully once we get those players embedded into the team, we can climb up that table, and we can obviously get to push for the higher up areas of the table. So season 3 started with confirmation of Matthias Jensen obviously moving to Fulham on a free transfer after his contract ended, and we are starting with a budget of £54 million, and we add another £3 million to that with the sale of Ethan Pinnock, and Christoph Ayer went for a big 14 million, so a bit of transfer budget coming in. We knew we had to replace Jensen at this point in that CDM role, and we bought the young Englishman from Nottingham Forest, Elliot Anderson, ex-Newcastle player, obviously at Forest now, and we brought him over to Brentford, £38 million. I think in real life he went to Forest for about 35 million, so not too bad to be fair. 23 years old, really good all-round stats. He can play anywhere in the midfield, either defensively, in the centre, or in the attacking midfield role. We are going to play him in that central defence midfield role alongside Ampadu, and hopefully obviously he can bring some quality into the team. And we did get rid of Fabio Carvalho back to Fulham, and Mitchell Bakker, the left back, 79 rated from Holland, only 26 years old. We brought him in to replace Rico Henry. Rico Henry will obviously still be here as cover, but we wanted to obviously, that was the main spot where we have the lowest rated player, so we did bring Mitchell Bakker over to Brentford. And the final signing at the start of the season for season 3 was Jed Spence from Spurs, 19.5 million plus Keane Lewis Potter, already 82 rated, only 25 years old, really good pace, maybe not the best defensively, but definitely a really good attacking player in that right back role. And then because obviously we had him, we had Sepp van der Berg, we did decide to get rid of Coyote for just over £6 million to sort of give that rotation between Spence and van der Berg without any of them getting too unhappy. And that's how we did round out season 3 summer transfer window. But again, a couple of big signings. Man City raiding Real Madrid, Rodrigo, Camavinga. Nico Williams went to Man City as well, so Man City makes some massive moves, so they're obviously going to be challenging at the top of the table. And there's some other big moves there as well. But moving into January, we were 11th, so a bit of an improvement from where we were in January in season 2. We were 15th obviously then, and now we are 11th. And Mika looks like he's hit a bit more of a goal scoring form here. 13 goals currently in that halfway stage. Elliot Anderson +1 already after just a few months, and we are looking in a good place. Backer up to 80 as well. Kevin Kelleher, decent goalkeeper, absolutely solid for us, and he's doing a good job. We have still got some players who are obviously unhappy, who aren't getting much game time, simming through obviously this save, but again, we can use them for funds as and when needed. But going into second half of the season, we were, or did have a good team, should I say. If you look at that midfield and look at that attack, we were in a really good place. Biereth, Otara, Damsgaard, Smith Rowe, Anderson, Ampadu, quality front six in terms of that midfield. Obviously 2 defensive players, but in a really good place. And when we did actually make a massive improvement, to be fair, up to 10th in the league table. 51 points, so still not quite as many points as the first season when Brentford did finish 10th, but at least we were back to where that first season was in terms of the position in the table. And obviously we can only improve from there. We can obviously get some more players in the new season, and we can hopefully build up that table. We're not expecting to win the league or get Champions League anytime soon, but obviously if we can get up to sort of 8th or 7th, that'll be a really good improvement, and then obviously improve from there up to that 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and hopefully, fingers crossed, top of the table and win the Premier League. But just looking at the squad at the end of the season, some massive improvements. Elliot Anderson already +2, still only 24 years old and looking in a really good place. And then just some other players. Otara, you can see there's got 14 goals in 42 games. Damsgaard got 9 and 46. So looking both in a good place in those attacking midfield roles. And Mika Biereth carried on his goal scoring form with 21 goals in 46 games, although it does look like he picked up an injury at the end of the season, unfortunately. But hopefully he can recover over the pre-season and be back with us for season number 4. Season 4 rolls around, 51 or just under £52 million, should I say, in the budget. And we're just looking at the squad here. You can see that injury to Biereth, and it's mainly the defence that obviously we're looking to improve with those ratings. And the first players we bought him was Ladislav, should I say, Krejci from Girona. 28 years old, so a bit on the older side, but 83 rated. Solid physical, solid defending, and can definitely slot straight into that starting lineup in centre-back, left-footed, and he should be able to do a good job for us. But we did actually decide to get rid of one of our probably best players over the course of the past couple of seasons in Django Otara. And we did sell him to Forest. Obviously, they sold us Elliot Anderson. We sold them Otara for just over 26 million, and we knew we had to replace him straight away. So we went for the brilliant English youngster, Carney Chukwuemeka from Chelsea. 28 million, so not a massive increase on the cost that we got rid of Otara for, so fairly breaking even there. And you can see he's already a really good player, still only 23 years old, 82 rated in that attacking midfield role. And then a few other sales there. Igor Thiago went out on loan, and Kim Ji-soo also went out on loan. So no other permanent sales, but obviously looking in a really good place for the team now as well. And then just looking again at the other players that went out for big fees. Ryan Shirky, you can see there, Barella, Hincapié, Vlahovic, Brahim Diaz, Kubo, some big players moving around for obviously big fees as well. So as much as we're improving, other teams are improving around us as well. But we did get to January in 9th position, which was obviously, again, an improvement of where we finished in 10th. So that's moving in the right direction. And you can see, or you will see in a minute, should I say, the contribution that the new boy, Carney Chukwuemeka, has had. 10 goals, 5 assists in his first 23 games for the club, already up to an 84, Anderson up to an 85, Smith Rowe up to an 82. So we're definitely moving in the right direction. And that introduction of Carney Chukwuemeka looks unbelievable business if he carries on the way he started the season. So obviously, hopefully he can carry on that. You can see Krejci there as well, 21 games for him in the first half, so he's obviously straight into the starting lineup. Elliot Anderson, 24 goals, absolutely bossing that midfield. And then we get down to Biereth, and he's, again, you didn't see it there, but he's in good goal scoring form, up to an 83 rated now as well. And then just looking at the squad, we're looking really good, to be fair. We've got no one rated under 80 rating, which is obviously a really good place to be. And then we get into January of season 4, and it's one of probably the big players in the original starting line at Brentford, and Mikael Damsgaard. We actually do decide to let him go, and he goes to Liverpool for just under £36 million. And again, we didn't have a ready replacement for him, so we knew we had to bring someone in, and we decided to go with another young Englishman in Amari Hutchinson from Ipswich. Obviously gone to Nottingham Forest in real life, still at Ipswich obviously on this save, and we bought him in for £32 million. So our 3 attacking midfielders currently are all really high potential English attacking midfielders in terms of Amari Hutchinson, Carney Chukwuemeka and Emil Smith Rowe. So hopefully they can obviously have that English connection and do a solid job for us. And that's how the team's looking at the minute. And then ending the season, obviously we were 9th at halfway stage, and we ended the season in 9th. 57 points, so exactly the same points total that we actually finished season 1 in, but obviously higher up the table in 9th position, and again, an improvement from that 10th position in the last season. So again, moving up in the right direction. Unfortunately, still nothing we can do about the cups. We lost to Gillingham in the Carabao Cup of all teams, and Man City obviously eventually won it. And just looking at the other tables as well, Real Madrid beat Barcelona on penalties in the Champions League, Liverpool won the Europa League, and Getafe won the Conference League. But again, we just scroll through the squad here. Kelleher, solid player in goal, 40 games, 10 clean sheets. Van der Berg's getting a fair few games, to be fair, despite all the players that we have brought in. Unfortunately, Bitshabu hasn't really paid off. Only 6 games this season, not progressing quite as much as we would have hoped he would have progressed, so he might be one we might have to sell on in the future. But the rest of them, Anderson, really well. Chukwuemeka again, 15 goals, 12 assists in his first season, unbelievable. Hutchinson came in, he's got 13 goals, 5 assists in 36 games. Obviously not all for us, but 13 goals and 5 assists across the season. Unbelievable. And the team is looking much improved. Possible weak links now, centre-back, left-back, Ethan Ampadu, that central defensive midfielder. And to be fair, especially with the cups not happening for us, probably that squad depth as well. Going into season 5, we know we needed to address the positions that we mentioned at the end of season 4. We did bring a left back, we did bring a centre back in. Bulgaria coming in left back, the 25-year-old Italian, 83 rated. Again, another attacking fullback, but again, one that can do a solid job for us and decent stats all round, to be fair. And then we did bring Kusanov in as a centre-back as well. And again, a young player, and he has potential to grow. Already an 82 rated. He didn't actually come from, I missed, to be fair, who he came from, but he didn't come from Man City, so he'd already been on the move from Man City, and obviously he's joined over to Brentford now. But that was obviously a lot of our funds gone with those two players, so we knew we had to make some sales. Nathan Collins, gone. Mitchell Bakker, gone. Vitaly Yanel, gone. And the final one was Igor Thiago, gone to Everton. So all French players, none of those first team players except Nathan Collins, I suppose. But obviously we knew we had a bit Shabu, and if he can grow, if he gets some first team opportunities, we knew he could do a job for us, so we're happy to let him go. And with those funds, we knew we had to go big, and we did bring in the youngster from Barcelona to Brentford, Pablo Torre, £40 million, only 84 rated admittedly, but 25 years old, great potential, really good stats in terms of his passing and his dribbling, and he can slot straight into that attacking midfield role, alongside obviously Smith Rowe. We've got Smith Rowe, we've got Chukwuemeka, we've got Amari Hutchinson, and we've got now Pablo Torre. We won't be able to fit all four of those into three positions. If I'm being honest, it's probably going to be Smith Rowe that gives way due to his rating, and he's a little bit older than the rest of them. But having a player like Smith Rowe on a rotation basis, if we need him or if anyone gets injured or rests or anything like that, is not a bad place to be at all, if we're being honest. And again, we're looking for contracts. We've got a lot of players' contracts coming to an end at the end of this season. So again, we wanted to protect the club and not lose all of those, and we did manage to extend them all, except for centre-back and Konak, the central midfielder, which we were happy to let go. But the rest of them, all fine, all newly signed contracts, won't lose any of them for free or have any issues with, obviously, them refusing to sign a contract and losing them, so we were happy with that. And then a big sale came in January. Kevin Kelleher, been with the club obviously since we started in season 2, and we did lose him for £35 million, but for £3 million less, we bought Mike Penders, 83 rated, 23 years old, 6'7", can you believe, and basically a regen of Thibaut Courtois, and he looks unbelievable, and I was more than happy to let Kevin Kelleher go on the basis Mike Penders came in, to be fair, and Penders was younger, similar rating, and massive, so what was there to go wrong, really? You can see that he's already in that first season, or in the first sort of half a season he's played for us, already gone up to an 84 rating. Only 2 clean sheets, admittedly, but he's gone up to an 84 rating, and he'll only improve, obviously, with his young age. And then just looking at some of the other players, you can see that Kusanov getting decent game time. Biatch, still not getting much game time. It looks like Kusanov and Krejci are the two that are starting the centre-back role. And then in terms of attacking midfielders, Amari Hutchinson having a great season, 12 goals, 4 assists in 44 games, and with Bira really hitting the goal scoring form now, 24 goals across the season, across all competitions. And if you look at that team now, we're looking at a really, really good space. We've still got Ampadu, which potentially needs to be addressed, but aside from that, everywhere else is really good. But we do finish season 5, same as season 4, in 9th place, but again, exactly the same, 57 points. So no real improvement in terms of the positioning of the points total. But the team's in a good place. We've got young players coming through who will improve, and they will obviously hopefully push us up the table and keep us going towards both Champions League or Europa League places. We're just looking at, again, the trophies here. PSV winning the Europa League. I think it was Atletico Madrid who won the Champions League, and Bologna winning the Conference League as well. Going into season 6, we got confirmation of Konak departure from the club on his pre-contract agreement, and we did get confirmation of our biggest transfer budget of the save so far at 92 million. We had to go and replace Ampadu with that money. We went big. We went for the big man from Brighton, Carlos Baleba. At West Ham the game, but at Brighton in real life, £55 million, 86 rated, still just 25 years old. Unbelievable defensive stats and generally all-round stats. And him sitting next to, obviously, Elliot Anderson in that two-man central defence midfield was looking scary for every other team. But we knew we had to recoup some of those funds, so we did get rid of Emil Smith-Rowe. Obviously, we've got 1 year. We've got Hutchinson, we've got Tor, and we have got Chukwuemeka, who are playing in those 3 roles. So we're happy to get rid of Smith-Rowe, and we did invest some money in another centre-back in Calafiori. We knew that Krejci was getting a bit older. Calafiori's a little bit younger. We knew that he'd grow with us, so we did spend the money on Calafiori, and you can see the 2 signings and the 1 sale there in the background, and no other business thus far. But some other big moves going on. Jiro Hato moving to Newcastle, Erdegaard moving, Pau Kabasi moving, Jules Koundé, Caicedo. Some big moves all across the world and the continent. But looking at some of the contracts we mentioned previously around obviously contracts expiring and not wanting to lose anyone on a free, we did manage to renew all of ones that we wanted to. The only player we were struggling with a little bit was Milambo, who signed in the second season for us. 80 rating now, not going to be a starter, but obviously was a decent squad player in that attack midfielder. He did reject the first contract from us. We went back to him a couple of weeks later with a second contract offer, which he did accept. But unfortunately, as you will see, he actually requested a release clause. So we did accept it on the base that he would sign the contract, but obviously we could lose him at any point. But two big sales going in January, Kusanov and Spence. Kusanov's son just joined us. Obviously, Spence has been with us from sort of day dot when we took over. But we did get rid of both of them for some funds, and we did bring in Gavario Reed from Chelsea. 83 rated, 23 years old. Again, not quite as good as Jed Spence at this stage, but definitely a player that we can grow and obviously build into a massive player for us. So we're hopeful for him. And then you might have heard me accidentally say his name earlier. Ethan Wanyeri, the big man, joined from Everton at Arsenal in real life, 73.5 million. Not actually in a position where he's as good as the attacking midfielders. We've got a minute, 85 rated, obviously. But again, 22 years old, loads of room for growth, massive potential for Ethan Wanyeri. And we knew he could definitely grow with the club and take over that attacking midfield role in the first place. So we did bring him in. Big money, biggest signing so far in terms of cost, but we knew he could grow, and we did recoup only a little bit of fun, 7 million into the bank for Rico Henry. Obviously, with Ruggieri in that left back role at the minute, we were happy getting rid of Rico Henry. It was after the transfer window in the summer, so we will go in January. Obviously, it'll be some funds, and obviously, it'll be good to see Rico Henry go out and get some game time at another club as well. But looking at the stats of the squad going into the season ahead, or starting in January, to be fair, you can see some big games or big goals. Pablo Torre, unbelievable, 14 goals, 12 assists and 43 games for him, looking really, really good. Unfortunately, you saw that Ethan Wanyeri did only start 8 games. Like we said, he's not as good rating-wise as the other attacking midfielders we've got at the minute. He's still only 85, hasn't grown at the moment, but he is obviously a big player for the future. So we'll keep hold of him. We're still confident our investment will pay off. We do finish the season, actually, in 5th place, our best finish so far, 64 points into those Europa League spots. And hopefully we can push on, do well in the Europa League, and obviously push on up the league as well. Hopefully we won't have the opposite effect by playing too many games. We haven't got the greatest squad depth at the minute, so hopefully we're not playing too many games and it affects us in terms of both competitions. But we'll have to obviously see how it goes. And I think for season 7, at the start of it anyway, it won't necessarily be about improving the main squad because we've got a really good main squad at the minute. It's going to be all about improving the depth. Season 7, Henry leaves to join Fürth. We get a massive transfer budget increase, 178 million, and we spend that all straight away. Again, we mentioned squad depth. Bento coming in from Barcelona, goalkeeper. Alex Scott from Bournemouth, another player from Bournemouth, a striker. Ori Oscarson, 46 million. Some big money on players not to make the first team squad, but again, we're competing in 4 competitions this season in terms of the league, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Europa League. So we knew we had to have depth. And we knew that we needed players of quality to come in as and when we need them. So Alex Scott, only 83 rated, 26 years old, probably not going to grow too much to be fair, but he can play anywhere in that midfield. It's similar to Elliot Anderson to be fair. Centre mid, attacking mid, defensive mid, he can cover them all. So we knew he would do a good job in terms of that sort of cover fit for either of those positions. And we did actually mainly want to use him as a defensive midfielder as and when. And Bento, again, 31 years old, he's not going to play an awful lot, but he's a good backup goalkeeper at 85 for Mike Penders. And the final one was Oscarson. We've never actually had, since we sold Igor Thiago, we never had a replacement striker in case Beereth got injured or anything like that. So it was good to get him in as well, even though it was a fair bit of money. But we have the money for it, so why not spend it? But you can see already the squad's looking really good in terms of the first team and the backup players that we needed for those Europa League games or Cup games. And then we did improve it a little bit more. You remember Konate? 50 million plus the signing we had earlier in the season for the actual move. Admittedly, 31 years old, but 87 rated, really good defensive stats, really good physical stats as well. And we knew that he could come in and do a job for us, mainly to replace Krejci, to be fair, because Krejci's getting older, and although Konate is also getting older, he's a better rating, he's got better stats. So we thought he could come straight into the squad, improve us straight away, and hopefully be that sort of main defensive block for us. So you can see that he'll be playing alongside Calafiori, Krejci on the bench alongside Vandenberg and most centre-back roles as well. And the first team squad's looking unbelievable. The replacements are looking in decent place as well. But unfortunately, we get to January, we've dropped 8th position. What we expected to happen has happened. We're doing well in the Europa League, 5th place at the minute, only 1 loss in there as well. But unfortunately, that does seem to have an impact on our league form. And even the backup players aren't playing. Bento, 0 games despite coming in. Penders has played every single game, and Valdemirsson's played a couple here and there. But mainly, mainly Pender's playing. Calafiori's only played 15 games. Krejci's actually played more than him. Alex Scott only played 12 games as well. The attacking midfielders, in terms of their stats, aren't really playing ball, except for Pablo Torre, who's got 12 goals. And Oscarson's only played 2 games, although Beerus played 30, 16 goals, 6 assists. So I suppose that's probably the reason why. But in January, we only had 9 million to play with, so we didn't actually make any signings, didn't make any sales. And then at the end of the season, we finished in 7th. So it dropped from 2 positions from the season before, but obviously competing on two fronts in terms of the Europa League and in terms of the Premier League as well. And that 7th place does still get some Conference League for this following season, which hopefully we can do a good job at with the team we've got. And hopefully we can potentially pick up our first trophy at Brentford in that Conference League. We'll have to see how that one goes, obviously, in that following season. But into the Europa League, you can see actually we did actually go quite far. But unfortunately, we came up against the juggernauts and the eventual winners of the Europa League in Manchester City. We lost 3-1 in aggregate to them in the semi-finals, unfortunately. But you can see we did utilise squad Liverpool. Bento did get 11 games in the end from January, obviously, until the end of the season. Calafiori ended up playing 28. Still Krejci playing more than him, and obviously we had a centre-back partnership from the looks of Konate and Krejci rather than Calafiori. But either of those three playing over the 2 at the back is a good place to be. Hutchinson picked up his form, 16 goals and 6 assists. Torre only picked up 2 goals from January as well, so he ended with 18 goals. And then Beerus picked up overall 30 goals, 7 assists in that as well. There was some big, obviously, increases in ratings. Well, Elliot Anderson got up to a 90, Baleva got up to an 89. Chukwuemeka, Pablo Torre, Wanyeri, Amari Hutchinson all up to 87, Beerus up to an 89, and that squad was looking unbelievable, except possibly with defence, which might need a little bit of improvement. But we moved on to season 8 into the Conference League, £118 million budget. So obviously we're not in the Europa League, so the budget has dropped a little bit. So we did decide actually to get rid of Pablo Torre, and you'll see the fees for him, and this is the reason we got rid of him. £106 million to Bournemouth. Obviously they got a fair bit of money from us. Obviously we got Alex Scott from them. We bought Oscarsson, the striker, from them as well. So we knew we had Wanyeri, we knew we had Hutchinson, and we knew we had Carney Chukwuemeka as well. So we were happy to get rid of Pablo Torre at that stage. We decided to actually invest in that defence because, as we say, that was the weakest area we were. And although they might not be highly rated at the minute as the players we've got, they're young and they will develop. Miles Lewis-Skelly, 24 years old, he comes in left back, and we do get Lenny Yoro in from Palace. He found himself at Palace leaving Manchester United. But again, still a really young player, still a lot of room to grow. Already 86 to be fair, but again, 25 years old and a lot of room to grow as well. So hopefully those two, again, can grow with the club in the last couple of seasons up until that 10th season and get into a really good place for us. Due to the signing of obviously Lewis-Skelly, we did decide to get rid of Ruggieri, an offer we couldn't refuse really for him, 48 and a bit million for him from Liverpool, and we did eventually sign him as well. First proper signing for the club, so it was unfortunate to see him go, but £20 million for him, again, we couldn't turn that down. So you can see there some good signings, some good sales as well in terms of Ampadu and Ruggieri, and obviously the big money sale of Pablo Torre as well brought us in a lot of funds to be able to spend that money and obviously improve that defence. The attack and the midfield, we were more than happy with it. As a defence, obviously I wanted to improve, and one of the defenders did get sold at the start of January in Krejci, as we mentioned a little while ago. He was a player who, he's a decent player, but obviously he's getting on a little bit and we knew he wouldn't improve as much, so we could put those funds to better use. January rolls around, 6th place in the table, so a little bit of improvement there. And we're actually unbeaten so far in the Conference League. Being unbeaten in the Conference League, we knew we had a chance of winning it, and obviously we wanted to win our first trophy for Brentford, and we decided to make a massive signing, the biggest signing we'd actually have in this whole save, really. Endrick, Real Madrid youngster, 25 years old, 91 rated. He signed from Villa, actually, so obviously he moved to Villa from Real Madrid, but you can see their pace, shooting, dribbling, unbelievable. He will be a striker. Now, you might be wondering what's happened because we've got there. If we decide to move to a 4-2-2-2, which actually chucks even Wanyeri back out of the first team squad, with obviously Hutchinson, Carney Chukwuemeka, Endrick and Beerus being our front four. But we couldn't spend that sort of money on Endrick and not play him. And obviously we couldn't not play Beerus in terms of the form he's in. And ultimately it paid off. Finishing with Champions League places, 4th position, only 66 points, so actually not a massive improvement in terms of points, but we'll definitely take finishing in a Champions League place and the funds that will come from that. And then just going through the others, West Ham win the FA Cup. We got knocked out to Arsenal in round 4 of the Carabao Cup, so those 2 cups still completely evading us. And it was Chelsea who won the Carabao Cup. And the Champions League final hasn't happened, and there's a reason for that. We did end the group stage of the Conference League unbeaten. We beat Rangers 4-3 3 in the round of 16 on aggregate to go through to quarterfinals. Quarterfinals, we won 7-1 on aggregate against the Belgian side again. Semi-finals rolled around 3-3 on aggregate, should I say, to Girona, but we beat them on penalties, and we do actually manage to get to the final of the Conference League, and we have a chance of winning our first trophy with Brentford. But unfortunately, the player of the moment, our main player at the minute, Hendrick, is unable to play. He's out injured with a hyperextended knee, so he won't feature in the Conference League final. But we did feel, obviously, with the squad that we've got and the players that we've got, we should beat Como, the Italian side, in that final, and hopefully bring the first piece of silverware to Hounslow, to Brentford, and hopefully that will be a springboard going into Champions League next season after that fourth place finish. And you can see the players here: Hutchinson, 88 rated, Carney still 87 rated, Beereth having an absolute blinder, Mike Pender's up to 86 rated now and still only 26 years old. But obviously we had to win the Conference League, and we saw the forms some players are in: Beereth, Wanyeri, Hutchinson, obviously all in really good form from their stats from that screen you saw beforehand as well. So again, we were probably favourites coming into this game, although we'd never won a trophy. The players we had and the quality we had in our team, we were definite favourites. So there was a party atmosphere before this final against Como. You saw the Como fans there, and you can see obviously that our players up for this tie in the Conference League final against Cesc Fabregas' Como, and hopefully we can get our first bit of silverware. We started off strong. 4 minutes in, Amari Hutchinson plays ball back to Elliot Anderson. Elliot Anderson pings on him to Beereth, unfortunately saved by, of all people, the English goalkeeper, Beadle, in the Como goal. Unfortunately, Beereth couldn't get headed past him. The score stayed at 0-0. But Como came back a couple of minutes later, pretty good shot. Decent job on Mike Penn, using that 6'7" frame of his, using those long arms of his, and keeping that ball out the back of the net. But we were on top once again. Wanyeri skipping through the midfield of the Como defence, gets the shot away, but unfortunately drags it wide, and it does go for a goal kick. And then just a couple of minutes later, Como came in again. It falls again, of all people, Scott Twine, the Englishman, he gets a shot away, but again, Mike Penn is there with his big frame and keeps the ball out back of the net. But unfortunately, it wasn't going to last forever. Reed gets a shot, it does get blocked initially. Penders comes out to get the ball, but unfortunately, just chips the ball over Penders to give Como a 1-0 lead just a couple of minutes before half time. And that was really unfortunate position. I wasn't in any doubt we could definitely still come back and win this game with the quality we've got. We knew it was going to be a little bit harder coming from 1-0 down, but we carried on. Wanyeri puts the ball up, gets a decent shot, and a good save again from Beanie in the Como goal. And then 10 minutes later, also Hutchinson plays the ball to Beereth, the main man for us, the main striker, all serious for this. Make Beereth shoot the ball into back and let pass to bring the score back to 1-1. Hopefully we can build from that with players we've got. You can see players on the bench all celebrating, eagerly anticipating us getting a second goal, but it only lasted a couple of minutes. Christian Pulisic gets the shot, Mike Penn just tips the ball over the back of the net. It was actually probably an easier save than it looked. I think Mike Penn made it look more difficult than it was, but unfortunately from the resulting corner, again another Englishman that Como put in their team, Charlie Cresswell, the centre back, he manages to hit the ball up in the box, pokes it underneath Mike Penders, and gives Como a 2-1 lead with just 15 minutes of this game left. And there wasn't a lot of time left. Final minutes, ball falls up to Beereth, but unfortunately the ref does blow his full-time whistle. And unfortunately our first opportunity to win silverware with Brentford does become a failure, and we do unfortunately lose the game 2-1. So we still have to build it for next season. Again, we're in the Champions League next season. We'll be able to build with obviously the money we'll get from that. But it was really unfortunate, especially for this group of players and how quality they are, to lose this game against Como. But it's experience. We got into a final. The boys have played in the final now, and hopefully again we can build on that experience going into next season in the Champions League and in the league, and hopefully we can end on a much better result than we have ended season number 8. Moving on to season 9, and we knew we were going to get our biggest budget yet, obviously qualifying for the Champions League for the first time. We actually got a massive one of £217 million, which we knew we needed to spend and really improve the squad with just 2 seasons left of this challenge. And the first player we brought in was the centre-back, Pau Kabasi, and what a diamond he is. Obviously still a young player. He signed for us from RB Leipzig for £92.5 million. Obviously moved to Leipzig from Barcelona and now has moved to us. But we knew obviously we still had to obviously look at the squad depth as well. So we got rid of Carney in the last episode, and we actually have brought in Morgan Rogers for £35 million. Obviously not going to be a starter. He's only 85 rated, obviously compared to the attackers we've got in terms of Wanyeri, Hutchinson, etc., who are sort of more of the 87, 88 rated. But obviously a really good player who we can bring in as and when we need to sort of fill a gap where we need it. And again, He's 29 years old. He's not grown much, but he's a good player to bring in as and when we need to. Obviously, especially with the Champions League coming in, we know we're going to have games all over the place, and obviously we needed to have that squad depth. And we did decide to sell Bento for 18.5 million, the backup goalkeeper. But the reason for that was because we brought in the big man, Gianluigi Donnarumma, probably arguably one of the best goalkeepers in the world in real life at the minute. And we managed to get him for a steal really from Real Madrid, £25 million. But the reason for that is he is 33 years old, so he is at the back end of his career. But obviously, as a goalkeeper, age is just a number, really. Some goalkeepers don't hit their prime until they're in their 30s, so he'll come into the first team squad. He'll be the first choice starting goalkeeper, unfortunately, for Mike Penders. But again, Mike Penders is going to be a really good backup, and they'll probably rotate more than anything. We do decide to go rid of Carney for 90 million. I did absolutely say it earlier. But yeah, we got rid of Carney for 90 million. I feel like just in that game we played against Como, he just really didn't play very well, so we just wanted to get rid of him. And we did decide to replace him with, I'm not going to pronounce his surname, but Franco for £80 million. So actually a £10 million difference in our favour, to be fair, in terms of play we brought in. 88 rated, young Argentinian. He's moved to Real Madrid in real life, found himself a Bayern on here, and obviously moved over to us now for about 88 rated player for £80 million. And again, still only 25 years old, really young player. Room to grow in these last couple of seasons. Hopefully he can do a job for us. Just looking at the team now, unbelievable. We're probably weak spots again of a left back and centre back, but I don't think we can really do a lot apart from that, to be honest. So I think we're in a really good position. Hopefully we can really fight on both fronts in terms of Premier League and the Champions League. I'm not expecting too much from the Champions League, to be fair. But obviously finishing fourth in the Premier League last season, we should hopefully be able to improve from there. And still some big moves going on around, obviously around the world and around Europe. But obviously we were mainly concentrating ourselves, and we're in a really good position come January. First position, only 4 points clear of Arsenal, Newcastle and Southampton, all on 34 points, and we're on 38. But obviously a really good sign. Champions League not going quite as well. 28th in terms of league plays out of 30. I think it's 36 teams overall. So not in the greatest place there, but the league was our main priority at this point. And if we get in the league, we can qualify for Champions League next season and hopefully do a job there. So obviously, as long as the league was going well, that should be in a really good place. We did unfortunately actually make a bit of an error here. We didn't renew Konate's or Calafiori's contracts, and they both did agree pre-contract agreements with other clubs. So we are going to be losing both of those come the summer window. But obviously we'll get some funds obviously from the Champions League run and from obviously the Premier League as well. So we should be able to replace them. It's not the end of the world. Although they're starting players, they're both obviously sort of aging a little bit and probably reach their full potential. So we can definitely replace them with some players. And obviously we've got Pau Kabasi coming in as well now, and he'll be one for the long term as well. So I'm not too bothered about that. And then looking at the season stats, some really good stats in there, to be fair. Endrick and Mika both ended up on 24 goals for both the strikers. When Yeri really hit in form, 19 goals, 11 assists. I remember in his first season, he only made 8 starts. So to see him getting 19 goals and 11 assists is unbelievable. Hutchinson, 15 goals, 18 assists as well for him, which is unbelievable. And Penders, as we thought, Donnarumma took the number 1 spot, and Penders unfortunately only played 6 games, which you won't be happy about. But again, still young. Donnarumma's not going to be around forever. Penders will come back into the first team, and he will be a gem for us in the end. And the season ended. We have finally won our first trophy for Brentford. Top of the Premier League. Oh, and it was by 11 points. It wasn't a close run thing in the end. It was by 11 points. But in all honesty, win the Premier League, we go out of the FA Cup to Northampton 3-1 in an early round. So swings and roundabouts really, but really good result in the Premier League. Obviously, absolutely buzzing to win it at the first attempt. Well, I say the first attempt, it was the first real push we made for it. And then in the Champions League, 19th place in the league stage, so we weren't expecting to really get very far in terms of the rest of it. But fortunately, we did win the playoff game against Lyon. We did come up against Atletico Madrid, who beat 5-0 in aggregate, to be fair, which I wasn't expecting in the round 16 quarterfinals. We did a job over Ajax, but unfortunately we came unravelled in the semi-finals against Juventus, who went on to win the Champions League overall. So couldn't quite do the Champions League, but definitely went further than I was expecting. But obviously the big party is that Premier League trophy, which we're buzzing about. Season 10, the final season of this save. We start off with obviously the Konate and Calafiori departures, but we do get a massive increase to our transfer budget once again after winning the league at 275 million. Obviously, this being our last season, we could splash it all on whoever we wanted, and we wanted to obviously replace Konate and Calafiori in the first place. William Saliba comes to the club, 58 million. Obviously a little bit older, but only 1 season left of this save, so we weren't bothered about that. And Dean Huijsen coming in as well, £50 million from Inter Milan to strengthen up that defence. Left back cover, Lewis Hall, 45 million. Obviously, we wanted to end this save with obviously the 2 trophies in terms of Premier League and the Champions League. So we wanted depth. The final piece of the puzzle that we brought in was Buadi, who came in from Liverpool, the central defensive midfielder. He's only 25 years old, to be fair. So obviously, if this save went past for 10 seasons, he would continue to grow. But we bought him for £60 million, and we thought that that squad was going to be good enough to win us the Premier League once again back to back, and also the Champions League. Lewis Hall, 85 rated, 28 years old. Again, there's still a little bit of room to grow there, but probably hit his peak at that point. Buadi, like I say, 86 years old, 86 rating, 25 years old. So again, loads of room for growth there, but a really solid player just for this final season for us as well, in terms of the cover and in terms of rotation for the games as well. And then in terms of Saliba and Hoyson, like I say, they were just purely replacements for Calafiori and for Konate as well. Obviously, our main centre-back partnership is still going to be the same going forward, with Saliba in there alongside Kabasi. The team is looking unbelievable. The low-rate players, Lewis Skelly, even the bench is looking unbelievable. Franco's on the bench now as well. Rogers, Buadi, Alex Scott, etc. So this final season should, I would really hope, be the one where we can get back-to-back Premier League titles and also make a real push for the Champions League. Because obviously this is going to round out the save. This is season 10. This is the climax of where it all ends. And we do get January. Top of the league once again. 11 points clear of Manchester United. Only one game lost all season as well. So looking in a really strong place for the rest of the season there. We did win the Community Shield at the start of the season as well. And then in terms of the Champions League, we found ourselves in 8th position in the league phase of that as well. So obviously looking strong there. And then we get to the final bit of the season. First in the league. We've still got one game left, you will see there, and I'll tell you the reason for that in a minute. But we did have a 26-point lead at that point with 37 games gone. So obviously we absolutely dominated the Premier League. But unfortunately we couldn't win the Champions League on this occasion. We actually went out a lot earlier than we did in the previous season, and we did go out in a round of 16 to Roma on penalties. But just looking at the squad, obviously we have assembled Donnarumma and Penders in goal, Lewis Hall, Miles Lewis-Skelly as the left back and centre backs. Vandenberg's been here from the start, but obviously Saliba, Yoro, Pau Kabasi, Dean Hoyson in that centre back role, unbelievable. Right back, Gavario, Reed. Defence midfielders, Anderson, who came in early, Baleba, unbelievable for both them. Alex Scott, Buadi. Attacking midfielders really pulled us through some parts of this season. Amari Hutchinson, Morgan Rogers, Malamba, who's been here from the start, Wanyeri, Franco, who's a recent signing, and then obviously the three strikers, Oscarson, and the two main men, Mika Biereth and Endrick, the 92 rated player. The biggest signing of the save has been unbelievable for us, and we do actually, to round out this whole save, play the game, the final game of this save, the final game of the season, although we've already won the league, away to Fulham. And we obviously wanted to use these players, see how good they are. First time we actually got to use Endrick, because obviously he was out injured in that Conference League final, so we did miss out on him in that game. But we're sticking to the 4-2-2-2. We're expecting to win this game, although we're away from home against Fulham. We've only lost one game all season, and we were looking to obviously end the season on a high, end this save on a massive high. But unfortunately, it was Fulham who actually got a strong start here. 7 minutes into the game, they do get a decent chance there, but Donnarumma with his long arms getting that stretched out save, pushing it out for a throw-in. And obviously it was party atmosphere being the final game of the season as well. But we started pushing on 50 minutes into the game. Endrick found Biereth. Biereth plays it. He looks to find Endrick again. Endrick gets a shot on his left foot. Looked a little bit off balance and looked a little bit of a tight shot to have, but the keeper didn't even move. Endrick gets a goal. Not a surprise. Like I say, the most expensive signing of this whole save, and it was good to see him get a goal. Hutchinson gets a good chance here. Again, good save by the goalkeeper to keep the score at 1-0 30 minutes into the game. And a couple of minutes later, Fulham did get another chance here. Brugger, he plays it into Harder, who's a regen on the Fulham side, and I've actually seen during the simulation, obviously through the seasons, he's actually come up with some really good goals, man of match performances, and overall top scorers in Premier League. So he was a player we definitely wanted to keep quiet, to keep a clean sheet in this game as well. We did get a break here from that Fulham corner. Hutchinson picks the ball up. He looks to run at the defence, finds Endrick Wanyeri in loads of space. Wanyeri looks through on goal. Couple of step overs, try and beat the goalkeeper, but unfortunately the shot on his weaker right foot does go straight at the goalkeeper to keep the scores at 1-0. But in the second half, Wanyeri picks the ball up here, looks to play the ball into Endrick, he gets returned, plays into Biereth, but unfortunately Biereth does manage to not score, and obviously the keeper manages to make the save on that one. And then Fulham get another good chance, Harder with a shot there, but Donnarumma standing strong again. Although he's 33, 34 years old, still obviously a quality goalkeeper, still an absolute unit as well. And obviously he managed to keep the scores at 1-0, and then that shot from Harder just flew over the top of the crossbar again to keep the scores at 0-0. But Dean Hoyson, who came on as a substitute in this game, he finds Franco on that right hand side again, another player who came as a sub, finds Biereth. Biereth plays it to Endrick, and look at the power on this one. Endrick actually won past the Fulham goalkeeper to give his second goal of the game, give us our second goal of the game, and give us that 2-0 lead with about 25 minutes left to go in this one. And I think at this point we were fairly comfortable, to be fair. Fulham did get a corner 10 minutes later, 75 minutes in. Ball gets played back into Araujo. the Fulham player. He played it into Siddiqui, but fortunately for us, we managed to get the ball. Hendrick won it, plays to Oscarson. Hendrick gets ball back, beats the defender, absolutely foreign goal, similar to Anieri's chance in the first half. He gets to the goalkeeper, a couple of step overs, similar to Anieri, but this time Hendrick managed to put it back in the net to get his hat trick on the final game of the season. And I just think to myself, what would that Conference League final have been like if Hendrick was on the pitch? Would we have lost that game, or would we have got our first trophy? But nonetheless, we do win the game 3-0. We do get a Premier League trophy for the second season in a row, and it's a really, really positive way to round out this whole season. It's been a long slog, obviously 10 seasons of Brentford, not starting with a brilliant squad, really building the squad up. Obviously, we've had highs, we've had lows. We started off really badly in terms of not improving at all and going backwards, but then obviously to end the season with 2 back-to-back Premier Leagues, despite not winning the Champions League or any other trophies, we have got 2 trophies and 2 Premier League trophies at that, and obviously you can see the players' faces, some of the best players in the world at this point, and they're absolutely buzzing to be winning this game. But I just want to say, anyone who has reached the end, which, if I'm being honest, I'm highly doubting there's too many of you that have reached the end of this video, so we're 45 minutes in now. But I just want to say, anyone who has reached the end of it, if you have, massive thank you for obviously watching all of this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. I know it's not the greatest in terms of the rebuilds I have seen other people do, but as I say, obviously I'm new to this whole thing. I have got the Sheffield Wednesday main career mode on the channel as well, if you want to go and watch that. Again, maybe not the greatest in terms of production, but hopefully it does a solid job, obviously starting off this whole journey for myself. And hopefully this is just a little bit different. I've been working in the background. Again, it's been a massive slog, so big shout out to everyone who does this kind of say full time, and this is sort of their product. So massive shout out to them. But again, thank you to anyone who has got to the end of this and has watched this series, or watched this episode, or watched the Sheffield Wednesday series. If you do like it, drop a comment and I can definitely look to make plenty more. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you have enjoyed it, or if you do enjoy any of my other videos. Please hit the like button to show some support. As I say, comment down below if you want to see anything else. But as it is, 46 minutes in, it's been a slog, but thank you every single person. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.